sale. There's another pending sale, so it'll go up a little bit. You'll see that I've done about 1,066,000 in sales so far, averaging right now about 120,000 in sales a month, a little over that. About 12 to 15,000 profit a month. This is actually going to be my first $20,000 plus profit month, which is pretty incredible, assuming all we do is copy and paste junk to Amazon, right? So, a few things. I know we've done some webinars in the past where we have went through and found some items and did all that kind of stuff, and we'll do that tonight too. But one thing that you guys want to keep in mind, and I see a lot of questions about this in the group, not so much what do I list, but oh God, this happened, what do I do now? That type of thing. And Amazon, your metrics are a lot more important than on eBay, so we want to make sure that our metrics stay intact. And we've gone over this before in the webinar, but your main metric to keep intact is your order defect rate, right? And this is a sum of your negative feedback, your A to Z's, and your chargebacks. Obviously, we want to keep the customers happy, but if this goes above 1%, you can risk being suspended. You'll see mine 0% short term, you'll see 0.09% long term. Really no risk at all, right? I mean, I could have got 11 more times than what I got long term, and it'd still be okay. Your cancellation rates, your out of stocks, again, you need to stay under 2.5%. You'll see 0, 0.21, 0.16, and these aren't really from out of stocks. These are when a buyer cancels incorrectly and doesn't send the message the right way. I don't even care anymore because, I mean, again, it's nowhere near anything that's going to get you in trouble. Your late shipment rate, you guys can't really control that. You'll want to use a handling time that controls that. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But again, nowhere near the 4% target. And obviously, reply to your messages. One new thing that they do have is they're requiring valid tracking. You should be doing valid tracking anyway on office products and shoes. You're probably not selling shoes. Looks like some items count as office products, not very many, but you want to make sure that you upload those trackings in time. Sometimes Amazon won't, even with the valid tracking, it won't count it as valid, and you'll see that here, even though we upload tracking on every order, occasionally it just doesn't think it's valid, I don't know why, and your percentage goes down a little bit. So just be a little bit more careful on the office products to make sure you don't dip below there. But how do we actually handle all of this and make sure our metrics stay green, right? So what I like to do is use a bunch of scripts that I've proven have worked. All right, I've never got a negative feedback. I've never got a neutral feedback. A couple here and there, but ones that have been able to be removed. So I want to walk you guys through how to handle each type of situation so that when it pops up, it's literally as easy as sending the buyer the message, following step by step how you're going to deal with the supplier, and not have any issues. Of course, it's going to be annoying when someone returns something and says it's sky blue and not baby blue. It happens all the time. But you guys shouldn't be worried about it affecting anything. All right, you guys shouldn't be worried about the buyer freaking out too much if you use these scripts. So the first one that I made up here is called a cancellation script. And as your sales increase, you're going to have people that order an item and maybe an hour later, maybe 3 days later, decide they don't want it anymore, and they try to cancel. And just so you guys know, I focus almost 100% on overstock. All right, so any steps I give you guys here is going to be what you would do to take care of these problems through overstock. All right, so obviously, if a buyer cancels after you place the order, there's not a whole lot you could do. You used to be able to call overstock and have them actually turn the package around, but evidently we abused that too much and they stopped. So you do have to let it ship, and you do have to let the buyer, get it and get it back to you. Now, the issue with that is if you do it the normal way, where you say I'm sorry and just return it when you get it, well, then either you're going to get hit with return shipping, or you're going to have to charge the buyer. And the buyer doesn't necessarily like being charged shipping when you ship an item after they said to cancel it. All right. So here's how we're going to handle this. And I've bolded things that you're going to fill out, that you're going to change with your own information, but everything else should be pretty stock. All right. So if a buyer tries to cancel, I send them this pretty much immediately. I say, hi, buyer, the buyer name. I would say Matt here for my store name. This item actually ships directly from one of the manufacturer's warehouses. You'll see a pattern here. We always want to do a few things. We want to be as nice to the customer as possible. We want to make the message as happy as possible. And we always want to focus on the fact that you can't necessarily do anything, that whatever happens is because of the manufacturer, alright? And people tend to not blame you then. So this item actually ships directly from one of the manufacturer's warehouses. Since your order was placed at some time, you know, you can change that out to yesterday or 4 hours ago or 2 days ago or whatever. We've already forwarded your information over to them for processing. Then you just tell them straight up, thus I'm unfortunately unable to cancel the order immediately. But now here's where you try to give them some options and make it seem like you're trying, alright? You say this: I've contacted the warehouse and submitted a cancellation request to see if we can get it stopped before it ships out. We usually have around a 50-50 chance in these situations. Now this, you're not actually going to do that, alright? You're not actually going to call Overstock and try to get it canceled. They won't do it anymore. But you want to give the buyer, for lack of a better term, the illusion that you are, alright? The chance that you're trying to help them as much as possible. You say there's a 50-50 shot, well, they just fall on the wrong side of that 50-50 every time. They don't know that. But you're trying for them, right? And that usually, almost 100% of the time, the buyer, instead of saying, oh my god, you can cancel it, you haven't shipped it yet, they say, well, thanks, you know, let me know how it goes. So we have a 50-50 shot, but you're not actually going to try that. And then you say, if it does still happen to ship, no worries. So, no worries is kind of a phrase I like to use. It keeps them happy, right? You know, we don't want them to be worried. We don't want them to freak out at us, so no worries. You still have many options, and this is how we have the buyers take care of it. We have them refuse the delivery, alright? So we give them 3 choices. If they're around when UPS delivers it, they can just refuse the delivery. Tell the guy they don't want it. If you know you won't be available when UPS delivers it, put a large note on the door saying you're refusing the delivery of the package and include the tracking number. Alright, and that's a good way that if they're not there, well, when the guy walks up to the porch, drop it off, they see the note and they just don't leave the package. More often than not, they will see this and not leave the package. 3. If UPS does still drop it off, you can contact them within 5 business days and request it be returned to sender free of charge. Most people don't know this, but if UPS does leave it on your porch, you just call them up and say, hey, I meant to refuse this, I want it returned to sender. You call them at this number, and UPS will actually come back to your house and pick it up. So you don't even need them to take it to UPS at that point. Here's their number. Please keep in mind that the package has to be unopened for this to work. So just like your refused delivery, it has to be unopened for the return to sender. Alright? Then I say this: these methods are all free for you, and a full refund would be processed as soon as the product arrives back in our possession. Overstock isn't going to take any return shipping from you guys off the refund if the package is refused, so you can give the buyer a full refund, and then they're happy, right? But then you have to give them this warning. Lastly, please note that if the item is delivered and you don't contact UPS within the 5 business days to set up the return to sender, then you'll need to go through the standard returns process. Return requests can be opened from that page on Amazon, and you will be provided with a prepaid return label. Here, at least they're warned, in this case, and this case only, you would then be responsible for the return shipping costs. Alright? So if they don't follow the steps to get it for free, well, then they pay return shipping. Please watch for a follow-up message over the next couple days letting you know the result of our cancellation attempt. I never really, for this script only, I never really send a follow-up message. Amazon will send a message when the item ships, so that's good enough. Then if you have any questions, feel free to message me through Amazon or give me a call at your phone number. You don't have to put your phone number if you want, it's optional. It's just something they can do. You will get a call every once in a while, but I just put it there for an option for them. And again, something like feel free is a good phrase. And then I ended excited, right? Thanks for choosing my store name, and then your name. Alright, and that's a script you guys can use for cancellations. Now, here's some notes. When you set it up for a refusal like that, you have to watch the original tracking number. Alright, it'll show when the package is refused and when it's returned to sender in the notes. Alright, now obviously there won't be an actual return tracking, so you're going to watch the original tracking number. This is important. Overstock will almost never refund a refused package on their own. Alright, you'll have to call or do the live chat with them and ask them to have it closed out. You'll also need to wait at least 6 business days before or after the item gets back. 6 business days after the item gets back to have it closed out, because otherwise they'll see that it's been under 5 business days and they'll say, well, they'll probably process it in 5 business days. They won't, but you have to wait at least 6 business days for them to for sure close it out. And then, like we said, there's no return shipping charge from OS on refused packages. Alright, so that's how you handle a cancellation. Not a big deal. Of course, you're going to lose your initial profit on the item. And we'll talk about the fees Amazon keeps later on. But you really won't have any buyers freak out when you're using the script because, hey, you're trying to cancel it, then you're giving them 3 options to get it back to you for free, and then finally you're giving them another option if all those fall through for whatever reason. Alright, so that's script number 1, and that's how we're going to handle cancellations. So another thing that can happen on Overstock is items arrive missing parts, and it doesn't happen. None of this stuff happens a ton, but when you add up all the percentages, I mean, once you're doing a ton of volume, it does happen. Alright, so missing parts are pretty easy. You don't need to have the buyer return it, and you don't need to have them contact the manufacturer or anything like that. All you're going to do is call Overstock and ask to do a parts request for the missing or damaged parts. Alright, you always want to call Overstock first in this situation, because 95% of the time they'll be able to do it, and they'll open the request, and you'll hear back from them with a tracking number that the parts have shipped within 2 to 5 business days. Alright, now on the rare occasion that they say, this item we can't do a parts request for, then you'll have to do a full return and replacement. Okay, now we'll talk about that in a minute here, but never let Overstock, one option they'll give you if they can't do a parts request, they'll say, well, the chairs were missing some screws, we can't ship out the screws, we can send out a whole new set of chairs, have the buyer take out the screws, and then send the chairs back. Which sounds pretty silly, and it is pretty silly, but Overstock will try to do that. You never want to let them do that. Why? Well, because remember on Amazon, you don't have any way to recharge the buyer. But if Overstock ships out a whole new set of stools, and the buyer just decides, hey, well, I'm not going to ship them back, 30 days later, maybe 45 days later, you'll get a nice email from Overstock saying, hey, you haven't returned this, we just charged your card for that amount. And you don't want that to happen. So, never let them do a full replacement for parts. If they can't do the parts request, then you're going to set up a return for a refund, and we'll go over that in a minute, alright, with Overstock. So, if the parts request is successful, or if they open the parts request at least, send the buyer the following script, alright? And you're going to do this after you've contacted Overstock. And I'll talk to Sean, we'll probably get all these put in the back office, too, so you guys can just copy them or whatever. But, you're going to say, hi, buyer name, Matt here from your store name again, alright? I'm extremely sorry. Anytime something goes wrong, you always want to be extremely sorry. Okay, just a good way to start out. You feel real bad for the buyer and can't believe it happened, right? So I'm extremely sorry to hear that your item arrived missing parts. I've submitted a request with the manufacturer's warehouse. I always refer to Overstock as the manufacturer's warehouse, or a lot of times I'll say, you know, if they're asking some other kind of question where it applies, I'll say one of the manufacturer's warehouses. That way, well, it ships from Overstock, but you know, it just ships from one of the manufacturer's warehouses. I don't pick that. They pick that, so that's not on me, right? And you'll never really get complaints if they're coming from Overstock, but it's just there to be there. So anyways, I've submitted a request with the manufacturer's warehouse to get, in this case, it was missing bolts sent out to you. It can take a couple of business days to hear back from them. That way the buyer isn't expecting a message in an hour or whatever. But they usually get the parts shipped pretty quickly from there. As soon as I get notified by them that the replacements have shipped, I will send you a follow-up message with the new tracking information. This is a follow-up message you guys want to send. You always want them to know that it's shipped and that they have the tracking. Alright? Here's another thing I like to finish off problems with, to end on a, not necessarily a happy note, but another I'm sorry note. I again apologize for this happening and truly appreciate your patience while we work to correct it for you. So now we appreciate them and we're working for them and they should be happy, alright? Again, if you have any questions, feel free to message me through Amazon or give me a call at your phone number. Thanks for choosing your store name, and then that. Alright, so not too hard again, you're just going to submit a parts request, and what you'll get is an email from Overstock, probably 2 or 3 days, business days later, saying that they got those parts shipped out and with a tracking number. Alright? Not too bad there. The next thing that can happen is a return for replacement. So this is basically a defective item. If the item arrives, you know, scratched up, or it doesn't turn on, or whatever, if it's defective, or if too many parts are screwed up, you know, if if it's some kind of desk and 90% of it is beat up or something. And this would be where we don't consider it damaged in transit. This would be where we consider it a manufacturer defect. If an item is defective, you'll want to do a return for replacement. Now, keep in mind that in this case, the buyer probably won't want to wait for the item to get back to overstock when they return it. It takes overstock another up to 5 business days to process the return, and then another 2 business days to ship out the item, and then another who knows how long for it to get there. So the buyer isn't going to want to wait through that entire process to get their replacement. So what you're going to do is you're going to set up the return for a refund on overstock. Okay, you're going to set it up for a refund. And then you're going to place a new order for the replacement as soon as you see the item back in transit. Alright, why do we do that? Well, now, the buyer could drop it off at UPS today or tomorrow. The tracking will update. You can get a new order in, and then that item's going to ship tomorrow, and they're going to get it pretty quickly. As long as the item is back in transit, you're going to get refunded on it. So this just gets the buyer their item quicker. Alright, obviously you're not going to place a new order until you see that they've shipped back the other one. A lot of times they won't actually ship it back, and you just don't do anything then. Just like with the refusing, a lot of times they never refuse the package, and oh well, they kept it, you keep the profit. Alright, but in this case, here's the script you're going to use. Hi buyer name, your name from your store name again. Again, you're extremely sorry. I'm extremely sorry to hear that your item arrived defective. I'm happy to help you, so now you're happy. I'm happy to help you through the return and replacement process. I've attached a prepaid return label that you can use. Simply attach it to the box and take it to your nearest UPS location. Please also write the RMA number, and this is always on overstock. This is the order number with the letter A after. Alright? Now, if you do a return like multiple times, if you need to have the return changed for some reason, then this might become the order number plus a B or something like that. Alright? But that's going to be your RMA number. On the outside of the package. This allows us to locate it more quickly when it arrives back. It's not necessarily true. Overstock has you do that in case the label gets damaged in transit and that order number isn't visible. Alright, now it's written on the box and they can still see it. Luckily, another nice word, right? Oh, they're lucky this time. Luckily for replacements, we don't have to wait for the item to get all the way back to the warehouse. Instead, as soon as you drop the package off at UPS and the tracking updates to show movement, the replacement will be released. From there, once it ships, I will send you a follow-up message with the new tracking information. Just like before, you want to make sure you send that. And the same thing as before, I again apologize for this happening and truly appreciate your patience while we work to correct it for you. If you have any questions, feel free to message me through Amazon or give me a call at your phone number. Thanks for choosing your store name, and Matt. Alright? And again, you'll have to keep an eye on that tracking number. Alright? You'll have to keep an eye on the return tracking number pretty closely to see when they drop it off at UPS. Alright? The next thing that can happen is a damage in transit. So if UPS breaks, damages the box and beats up the item, what do we do? If an item arrives damaged, you always want to contact overstock first before you reply to the buyer. Right? Why? Because there's 2 possible outcomes. They may have the buyer return the item. They'll do that a lot of times if it's not too beat up. Supposedly they have like some retail outlets that they sell the damaged ones to or whatever. So if it's not too beat up, they might have you return it. Or sometimes they reported the box to be damaged. So if the box isn't damaged, then they might have you return the item as well. Okay, so if that's what they decide to do, and for damaged in transits, it's a lot easier to call overstock, all right? Because they'll make up their mind right away on the phone. Whereas if you email them, they'll want to get back to you in 24 hours and think about it, and it's just a lot easier to call their support, all right? So if they want you to return the item, set it up for a refund. You're almost always going to set these up for refunds. You're going to set it up for a refund. And if the buyer wants a refund, you can pretty much refund them immediately. If they want a replacement, then you're going to just send out a replacement. All right. If they need to return it, you're going to use the replacement thing that we looked at above. All right. More than likely, though, they'll do what's called a claim with UPS. So they'll file a claim with UPS and ask the buyer to hold on to the item for 10 business days. you'll be offered an immediate replacement or a refund. And again, depending on what the buyer wants. In this case, it's actually okay to choose the replacement because it's immediate. Okay? So if they want a replacement, you do an immediate replacement. And Overstock will file a claim with UPS. And UPS will have up to 10 business days to come and inspect the item if they want. Now, 99% of the time, UPS never shows up and inspects the item. I think they maybe have a couple times for me, but they really don't. So if the carrier doesn't come to inspect it within the 10 business days, the buyer is then free to keep, donate, or dispose of the damaged item as they see fit. So if the claim route is taken, here's your script. And you guys can kind of read through it, but hi, buyer name, same thing as before, you're extremely sorry. We start here, we actually don't need you to return anything. Alright, instead I've went ahead and initiated a claim with UPS. We ask that you hold on to both the damaged packaging and the chairs, in this case it was chairs, for the next 10 business days, as UPS may come by and inspect them. If that time passes without them showing up, you are then free to keep, dispose of, or donate the damaged item as you see fit. In the meantime, I have arranged for a full replacement to go out. It should ship in the next day or two and arrive in a similar time frame as the original set. As soon as it ships, I will send you a follow-up message with the new tracking information, and then all the same stuff we had before. Alright? And that's actually pretty easy. You don't really have to watch anything. You just need to tell them when the replacement shipped. And that's pretty much it. The only other thing that can happen, and I just ran out of time to put a script for it in there, is if something is lost in transit. Alright? If the buyer says, hey, the tracking shows delivered, but I haven't received it, in that case, what you're going to do is you're going to call Overstock, tell them you haven't received it, and they're going to open up what's called a trace with UPS. And supposedly what UPS will spend up to 4 days looking for the item and trying to figure out what they did with it, and if they find it, they'll bring it to the buyer. Now, they never find it. They found one out of my like 14,000 orders. They found one lost in transit. So what you're going to do for lost in transit, you're going to open it for a refund. You're going to open the trace for a refund. You're going to send the buyer a new order with a for a replacement. Or if they want a refund, just refund them. And then Overstock will actually send you an email roughly 4 days later asking if you received it. You'll say, nope, I haven't received it, and then they'll process your refund. Alright? On the very off chance that they actually do receive it, you'll just have them return one of the two. Alright? So we always want to make sure that, knowing that Overstock's going to refund us and it's all going to be okay, we want to make sure the buyer gets their stuff as quickly as possible. Now, the last step is handling normal returns. And these are probably the most annoying because buyers should keep their stuff, but here's what you're going to do. You're always going to charge return shipping unless the item is damaged or defective. Why? Well, because Overstock charges you return shipping, and you might as well, okay? It's rare that a buyer freaks out about it, and if they do, I'll show you how to deal with it. One thing to keep in mind is that Amazon will keep their 15% fee on the amount you don't refund. So say it's a $100 item, buyer paid $100 on Amazon, and you tell the buyer that you're going to keep $15 for return shipping. Well, Amazon's going to keep 15% of that $15, and you're only going to get refunded, I should have picked easier numbers, right? You're only going to get refunded $12.75, okay? So just keep that in mind when you're determining your return shipping costs. The other thing is they're going to keep 3% on the refunded amount, but they cap the 3% side of this to $5 per different item, and that's a weird phrase, per different item. So let's go over it. Let's say a buyer orders 2 chairs, alright? Amazon's going to keep 15% of whatever you pick for the return shipping, and then they're going to keep up to an additional $5 when they calculate the 3% on the remaining amount, on the amount that you do refund. So we refunded $85, they're going to keep 3% of that. Now, since the 2 chairs are the same item, they're going to cap that 3% at $5 total, okay? Now, but let's say they ordered 1 chair and 1 table. These are different items, so they're going to cap the 3% side of it at up to $5 each. So technically, they could keep up to $10 total. All right, but they won't keep more than $5 on the chair, and they won't keep more than $5 on the table individually. So just keep that in mind. Now, one thing we want to do is use the item's weight, which is shown on the shipping label, to our advantage. And if you go to this link here, and the way to actually find this easier than writing down the link is if you Google Amazon return shipping, okay? and you click on this first result here, right here it says the cost of return shipping. There's a blue link. And you'll see that for the categories we deal with, it's pretty much all of these. Home and garden, kitchen and housewares, office products, outdoor living, sports, tools, furniture, right? All the stuff that we pretty much work with. You'll see that Amazon charges a per shipment rate of $4.99 and then 75 cents a pop. Alright? So take a look at what this allows us to do. When we get our label from Overstock, it actually shows the weight on the label. So it says this item's 11 pounds, right? And you can calculate, well, what would Overstock actually keep, or what would Amazon actually keep in this situation for an 11-pound item? They keep 75 cents times 11 pounds, plus $4.99, $13.24, right? What are you going to keep? Well, one option is to keep the $13.24. What I like to do is I like to keep an amount that will make my overall profit $0. And what does that mean? Well, let's say that I made $20 on the original purchase, $20 profit, right? I like to keep an amount that will basically wipe that out, but not cost me any more. All right, so it's as if the sale never existed, and that does require you to mark up Overstock shipping label costs quite a bit, but you know, it's just the way I've always done it since they started charging. Now, what you can do to figure out that amount is it's the OS label charge over 0.85 plus the Amazon cost minus the OS label charge times 0.03. Alright, and of course this 3% thing is capped at $5, so if it's more than $5, just add 5. Now why do we do this way? They're going to keep the label charge, actually this is Amazon cost minus the OS label charge over 0.85, again, times 0.03. Why do we divide everything by 0.85? That accounts for the 15% that Amazon keeps on the amount that you keep. Alright, so it's a little bit messy, but not too bad. If Overstock says they're going to charge $15 for the label and your Amazon cost is $100, or your Amazon, what you sold it for was $100, just fill in the numbers. And this will equal a $0 net profit on the sale. Alright, so aka you lose your original profit, but nothing more. Okay? And that's kind of how that works. Now, that should be pretty good. And when we do our return, we're going to use this script. So we're going to say, hi, buyer name, your name here from your store name. I'm sorry to hear that this product didn't meet your needs. Again, we're sorry. And now you're happy. I'll be happy to help you with the return process, right? I've attached a prepaid return label that you can use. Simply attach it to the box and take it to your nearest UPS location. Please also write the RMA number on the outside of the package. This will help us locate it quickly once it arrives back. Here's something new. Once the item reaches our warehouse, a refund will be processed within 1 to 5 business days. I never actually process the refund until I get the email from Overstock saying that they processed it. Alright? So that takes up to 1 to 5 business days. So we put that in here. It can take up to 5 business days. Please note that it usually takes a few additional days for the credit to show up on your card. Once you process a refund, Amazon processes it on their end within 24 hours. And then the card has to post it back, which takes a few business days. So that avoids buyers usually freaking out 2 weeks later saying, where's my refund? Alright? Some dollar amount will be deducted from your refund to help cover the cost of the return shipping label. We will cover the remainder of the shipping expense for you. Now, there really is no other shipping expense for you, but it's again just trying to make it look like you're helping the buyer, alright? And again, just you're fronting money out of them. Note that we're never mentioning a restocking fee in here, alright? If we want to charge more, we just up the return shipping cost, alright? A restocking fee sounds like something that you're just charging for the heck of it. Buyers don't like that. Return shipping, well, it's not you charging the return shipping, you know, it's UPS, right? So we group everything into one number here of a return shipping cost. Lastly, please note that all products must be in their original condition and postmarked within 30 days of original delivery to be eligible for a full refund. Technically, Overstock requires you to have it back within 45 days. Now, you can't open a return after 45 days very easily, but as long as the return's opened on Overstock within the 45 days, they really don't penalize you as long as it gets back someday. So even if it gets back 6 months from now, more than likely Overstock will still fully refund you. So this kind of gets the buyer moving, but if they don't return it for 3-6 months, which has happened, yeah, you can be annoyed at it, but you still probably should give them the full refund minus whatever shipping. All right. If you have any questions, and the same stuff we looked at before. So, again, if the item's damaged, then you're not going to charge return shipping, of course, and Amazon's just going to keep 3% of whatever that price is, up to $5. Okay. Now, how do we? One thing that I like to do is, I said I like to use that weight to my advantage. All right. So let's say that we have like a 50-pound item. Maybe it's some kind of big desk or something. It's a 50-pound item. Amazon's going to charge us, or Amazon would charge the buyer if Amazon sold the item to the buyer, $37.50, 75 cents a pound plus $4.99, $42.49, right? Let's say that I do my math on what I need to charge to make it a $0 sale, and it comes out to like $31. All right. In that case, I would do something like this: $31 will be deducted. And you always want to get rid of these parentheses. $31 will be deducted from your refund to help cover the cost of the return shipping label. If the number's a lot bigger, I like to make it look like I'm covering some of it for the buyer, right? So I just put the $42.49 in parentheses. And then if they question it, which they don't, but if they questioned it, I could go back and say, well, look at this page. Here's how Amazon does it. You know, we're trying to cut some of that off for you. And when buyers complain, I usually say something like, "Hey, well, here, we're trying to help you out. We don't even get the same discounts on shipping that Amazon does," and stuff like that. All right. And between all that, that should be all the templates you guys need to handle any issue that you have, and that's going to become big down the road when your sales start going up, because I probably have at least a few issues a day. I mean, sometimes there'll be 8 issues a day, and it's frustrating, but you want to make sure that you're handling them quickly, and the template should help you do that. All right. On that note, let's see, we spent about 40 minutes going over customer support. I think that's pretty good. On that note, let's talk about feedback for a minute. If you go on 1 minute here. Okay. So if you go to your seller page here, and you go to contact seller support, if you guys ever get a negative feedback or a neutral feedback, you can get it reviewed for removal. All right. And the normal criteria is that it either has to be a complete product review, right? So if the buyer says the item stinks or something like that, you know, if it's a complete product review, they'll remove it. If they mention any of your personal information, so if they say Matt was a jerk and wouldn't help me, well, they mention my name, we'll take that down. Or if they swear in it, then they'll take it down as well. Those are the 3 posted rules. Now, that being said, is that if you mark it, if you had a negative here and you put it in, it would ask you to select an option. You always, no matter what, want to select the product, or the feedback is entirely product review. Why? Because it'll actually have a computer look at it first. The computer will look at it first, and if the computer decides it's a product review, it'll take it down without Amazon ever having to review it. Alright? And the computer will determine that some pretty silly things are product reviews and just take it down for you, and that's good, right? If the computer doesn't take it down, then Amazon will review it and may or may not take it down. So that's kind of how we're going to do that. We're going to submit every feedback, if it's negative or neutral, as a product review, because there's always a chance, and there's actually a pretty good chance that it'll get taken down. If UPS screws up, that almost all gets taken down. You know, that type of thing. So always submit your negatives for removal, and you should be good to go. What else? Hey, Sean, do we have any questions?
Yeah, pretty much 99% of the questions were asking about if the templates will be in the back office, which, yes, they will be in the back office. We'll get Matt to put them back there after the webinar. But if you have nothing else, we can go ahead and open this up to a question and answer period. Or if you want to keep going, keep going.
I don't know. What do the people want to do? Do we want a Q&A, or do we want to keep going on some other stuff? You call, guys.
Let's see what they say here. Keep going, Q&A, keep going.
All right. So one person wants a Q&A, so we'll do Q&A. No, kidding, guys. We'll keep going. All right. So. Okay, so like I said, we normally, or I focus pretty much on overstock, right? So let's just take a look at overstock for a few minutes here and see what we can do. Now, guys, remember with Monopoly, we don't need a million listings to make a bunch of money. All right. Now, I think that I have, like I've told you guys before, maybe 200 listings. I don't know, probably not more than that. How long to log it, because they do this silly thing now where they try to recommend things for you to buy based on what you've already ordered. And since I've ordered 14,000 items, it takes it a while to calculate what it thinks I should order next. So stand by here. And we're in. Alright, so let's see. So first of all, you guys know that Club O, and obviously it wanted me to buy like a sandal or something, I don't know why, but oh well. So you guys know that with Club O, you can get anywhere from 5 to 40% back on any items that you buy, right? It's usually 5%, but when you come to your page here, you'll see in this account I've actually earned $64,000 in Club O rewards, just kind of a bonus 5%, right? And 5% site-wide, so you can just look there. Here it shows items that are 10 to 20% in the reward store. And then there's actually some exclusive items that give up to 40% rewards. So you can look through some of these, and a lot of times these aren't very hot sellers, but sometimes they are. Now keep in mind that these extra reward items, you can usually only buy 5 of while they're on extra rewards. So don't be listing a quantity of 1,000 and overselling what you can buy, alright? You can usually only buy 5. Now when you're on Overstock, you have a bunch of different options on how you can look around. Obviously you can just pick a category and start looking. Now, under For the Home here, pretty much everything is good. We tend to avoid sinks and faucets and tubs, alright? We could go into why, but a lot of times people's faucet don't fit in their sink, and their sink don't fit in their counter, and it just becomes a big mess. And well, tubs, I don't know. A lot of times you'll get manufacturers telling you to get off their listings for tubs, so let them keep their tubs. There's plenty of other stuff, but most things under here is fine. Most things are fine. The furniture section is pretty good. All of it should work, but the only thing you guys need to be aware of is you have to avoid items that are, and I think there's a list of items in the back office that Amazon, that the manufacturers will yell at you for being on Amazon, alright? I think it's back there, but the big one is Baxton Studio, okay? So don't list anything that's Baxton Studio, and that's pretty much all furniture stuff, so just watch out for it when you're looking at furniture. Bed and bath, you're going to want to avoid completely. Why? We'll go through these one by one. Memory foam is not returnable to Overstock, alright? Amazon will require you to handle the returns for up to 30 days, or accept the returns for up to 30 days. And you don't really want a garage full of memory foam that you can't return to Overstock. So, no go for that. Anything else, any of these other things, comforter sets, duvet covers, quilts, towels and sheets are just pretty cheap for the amount of hassle they give you. You know, they're like 18 bucks. And anything where the color matters a lot, where people are gonna say, hey, this sheet doesn't match my bedroom wall or something, or the sheet doesn't look exactly this shade of blue, you're gonna get a high return rate on those, very high return rate on those, because people are way too picky, and they'll say the color isn't perfect, or the quality isn't right, or it's too thin, or you know, whatever. So I tend to avoid this just because it's cheap and a big hassle. Same thing with comforters and anything under here. Tend to avoid those. I sold them for a while, but the return rate was upwards of like 15%, and it's still profitable. It's just that you're handling 10 returns a day when you don't need to. So, and they're pretty cheap too. So you're looking at like $4 or $5 profits, and it's really not worth it. You could technically look at down betting if you want. I really haven't done anything in it. I guess mattresses might be okay, but mattress pads and toppers, a lot of those are memory foam again, so just be careful. Women is like dresses and shoes and handbags and stuff, so you're going to avoid that. Same with men, pretty much the same stuff minus the handbags. Jewelry you're obviously going to avoid. Watches you're going to avoid. Health and beauty, if you're accepted in it for FBA or something, you can look around in it. I tend to avoid that too. Electronics, obviously no. But world stock here, it's just a different kind of category. It's a good category, it's just different. So, if I pick something here, I don't know, patio furniture, you'll see what this is. This is basically Overstock saying, hey, we want to be a good company, and to show that we're a good company, we're going to hire someone in Mexico to make us a hammock, and we're going to hire someone in China to make us a tea table, and someone in Vietnam is going to make us a folding chair made out of bamboo, and someone else in Vietnam will make us an umbrella made out of, I don't know, but just a bunch of kind of cool items, but they're different, right? There's pretty much every kind of category in here: kitchen and dining, bedding, garden, home decor, everything we were looking at before. But these aren't items that you're going to see usually already selling lights out on Amazon, because they're unique to Overstock. Overstock is having these guys make them. They're not mass produced. I mean, the quantity of the stock available is fine, more often than not. And by the way, guys, to check stock, this one's actually a very high sellout risk. To check stock, you just pull down the quantity box, all right? And in this case, there's only one left. They won't let you add 2 to your cart if there's only one to buy. So there's only one here. When you're not logged into Overstock, then the most it will show is 20. So 20 means they have more than 20 more often than not. When you are logged into Overstock, if you have Club O, it's supposedly some perk of having Club O, the drop-down list will show up to 50. So 50 usually means they have more than 50. Alright? Likewise, if you're not logged in, 20 usually means they have 50, which means they have more than 50, if that makes sense. But in this case, this isn't an item you're going to really see selling on Amazon, but it doesn't mean it's not selling on Overstock, right? So this would be an item that, more likely than not, you could list, but you're going to have to list it using your own UPC code, alright? With a new UPC code. You won't find a UPC code for these on Overstock on eBay either, alright? So it's a good category to look through. It's something most people don't do, but if you're going to make your own listings, it's a good category to look in, because you know, a lot of people always say, hey, I can't find anything on Overstock that's not on Amazon. Well, almost all of this isn't on Amazon, so go to town, alright? Under more over here, you have sports and outdoors is fine, baby is fine, pet supplies is fine, emergency preparedness is okay, toys and hobbies is fine, office is fine, crafts and sewing is fine. Alright, so lots of categories you guys can work with. Now, keep in mind that not all categories are created equal. Alright, so if you're looking at a category like home and kitchen, that encompasses so many different items and so many different kinds of items, right? I mean, every microwave is in home and kitchen, and every chair is in home and kitchen, and everything's in home and kitchen. So there's millions of home and kitchen items. So if you find an item that's ranked 200,000, 300,000, 500,000 in home and kitchen, that item will sell. I mean, not all the time, but it will sell. Now, take that, compare that to something like baby. Well, there's only so many strollers and high chairs and cribs out there. So if you find something that's ranked 500,000 in baby, well, it's probably the worst crib in existence. Alright? It doesn't mean that it never sells. It just means that it sells a lot less than something that's $500,000 in home and kitchen. So just keep that in mind, that not all ranks are created equal. Let's see here. What else should we talk about? Let's go on Amazon for a minute, and let's just pick an item real quick. I'm just going to randomly pick furniture and, I don't know, maybe not sectional sofas, those are too big. You guys always want to make sure that the item doesn't ship freight from overstock, alright? Just because buyers don't really look at the handling time on Amazon. When you're looking at an Amazon item, say that I just search, chairs, and I pick a chair, let's see if we can find something that's, let's actually find an item real quick. Furniture again, and I don't know, let's pick chairs. There we go. And if I pick a chair here, this one, just because it looks funny, I guess. And if I search for the chair, and here it is. Let's take a look. It's $233.97 on Overstock, and it's $259.58 on Amazon. So that is a profitable price. It's $770,000 in home and kitchen, so it's not selling every day. It's probably not even selling every month, but it is a profitable item. But anyway, you'll see that this handling time in this case really doesn't even show up, right? Sometimes it does, but this guy's named Quality Plus Deals. His usually ships in 3 to 4 business days, right? Usually ships in 2 to 3. This KTW Supply Company usually ships in 3 to 4, etc. So that doesn't show that anywhere here. Sometimes it'll say something like usually ships in 3 to 4 business days or whatever. The problem is that that's the only time people see that. Okay, it's the only time they see the handling time, and when they go to check out and buy it, it's going to have them pick the 3 to 5 business day standard shipping. It's not even going to mention the handling time. By then, a lot of times they forgot about it. So when we're using a 4-day handling time, so for overstock items, let's see here, that was too big. For overstock items, you always want to use a 4-day handling time. Okay? Why? Well, if you pick a 1-day handling time, it gives you 1 to 2 business days. It's not enough. Pick a 2-day handling time, it also gives you it gives you 2 to 3 business days. If you pick a 3-day handling time, it gives you 3 to 4. If you pick a 4-day handling time, it gives you 4 to 5. It gives you 4 to 5. All right. So basically, 3 is the same as 4 as far as Amazon is concerned. You might as well buy your extra day. Once you go above 4, if you go to 5 or 6, it hurts your buy box percentage tremendously. All right. So you want to stay at 4. So you want to make sure that you're not listing items that are listed on Overstock as usually leaves the warehouse in 1 to 10 business days. Okay, you want to look for that, because that's on random items. That's not always just on a big giant item. That's on some items that Amazon supposedly, or that Overstock supposedly like makes custom, and they'll be the silliest items. And you want to make sure you recognize that before you sell a bunch of them, and then have to tell the buyer that it's going to be delayed. Some things like pillows ship that way. They like custom make the pillow, and it's not really custom. It's just they make it when it gets ordered, which is weird. But make sure you look, avoid that, and then obviously freight shipping. Okay, freight shipping, it takes 4 to 6 weeks, and no buyer is gonna really want to wait that long. So we avoid those 2 things, and that's why we would avoid that big sofa that we were looking at originally. All right. Now, where do we want to price ourselves on this item? So we've talked before. We never want to be the cheapest. All right. We don't want to start a pricing war. Why? Because there is software out there that controls people's prices, and it's extremely limited. It uses Amazon's API, and the only options that it provides, the only thing that Amazon's API provides, is the Amazon price, if it exists. All right. So if Amazon's selling the item, what are they selling it for? The cheapest price, and the buy box price. Okay. So it only gives you a few options. You can either compete against the cheapest price, you can try to match it or be cheaper than it, or you can compete against the buy box price. So the problem is if you have someone who has software and they mark, hey, I want to be the lowest price, or I want to match the lowest price, and you come in and you undercut these guys to the bottom, well, this guy's going to say, hey, I'm not cheapest anymore. He's going to undercut you probably like 10 or 15 minutes later. And, well, then you could get mad and go undercut him, and he could undercut you again, and you guys could battle the price all the way down to nothing pretty quickly. Alright? We don't want to do that. It sounds cool to be the cheapest. It sounds like, hey, I'm going to get the buy box a lot more, and I'm going to get more sales. But, again, you're going to drive the price down to nothing within a matter of days. Alright? So, we don't want to be the cheapest. We also don't want to be the second cheapest. Why? Because the second cheapest guy might have software too, and his just hasn't updated to beat this guy yet. Right? So right now, these two are happy where they're at, and you can see a pretty big price difference here. Well, actually, these are the same price These are the same price. So you can see these two people are happy at the same price. They're not undercutting each other, right? So you don't want to come in here and disrupt the water and undercut people. Now, that being said, we don't want to be too expensive either. We don't want to be down here on like at the bottom, or on page 7 of all the listings, because nobody's ever going to see it. So you do have to be within a reasonable price of the low price to get the buy box, but you don't have to be the lowest. So where do we want to be? We want to be somewhere between 3rd and 5th cheapest. Preferably we want to be 3rd or 4th cheapest. Why is that? Well, take a look. There's 4 sellers on this page, right? On the main page, there's 4 sellers. There's one guy who has the buy box, right? This quality plus deals dude at the moment. There's 3 other sellers down here. And if the seller is in this box, then they are buy box eligible. They just don't have the buy box at the moment. And you'll see that if you price yourself too high, you'll actually go away out of here, alright? So you can actually use that to figure out what price are you still buy box eligible in. If I was to list this item, I would be buy box eligible in it. But if I list it for $5,000, well, I'm not buy box eligible at $5,000, so I wouldn't show up here. Someone else would. All right. So we always want to make sure that when we don't have the buy box, we're on this first page anyway. People will come down here and just, I don't know, KTW Supply sounds like a better name than Quality Plus Deals, and they buy from that guy. It happens. All right. And so you always want to make sure you're on the first page, but you don't want to start a pricing war, and that's why we're saying be 3rd or 4th cheapest. Okay. Now, the buy box will rotate quite a bit, actually. I mean, multiple times a day. And of course, the cheaper guy is going to get it a little bit more, but the percentage isn't that drastically different. All right. And it has a lot to do with your metrics, keeping your ODR, your order defect rate that we talked about, low, your cancellation rate low, your feedback percentage high. More orders in the category helps. More orders overall helps. All right. So it's not just based on price, guys, and we want to make sure that an item that's profitable now is still profitable in the future. And what we don't want to happen is we should never have a situation in Monopoly where if I put if one of you guys, I hope not, but if one of you guys are Quality Plus Deals or Herbie Sales or KTW Supply, right? If I was to jump on this listing, I shouldn't see a post in the Facebook group saying, oh my god, somebody came on my wing recliner and now I'm not going to make any money tomorrow and I'm not going to eat. It shouldn't be that way, alright? I've had the same items listed, pretty much the same items, for over a year now. I'm not the cheapest on any of them, and they still sell, right? People have come and added themselves to the listing, but who cares, alright? As long as you're following that strategy, being 3rd or 4th, you're going to make a lot more money over time, rather than if you just be the cheapest and drive the price down, and then you see posts of, hey, I had to take my microwave down because it was making $60 profits for 2 months, and now it makes a 50-cent profit plus rewards, right? We don't want to do that. So 3rd or 4th cheapest, and we'll be good to go. What else can we talk about? Let's see here. I don't know. It's probably a pretty good bunch of stuff for you guys to think about for the moment. Now, if you're, let's take a look here, 1 second. So obviously, you guys do want to make sure that you track your price changes, all right, and your stock, of course, and you'll have to come up with a way to do that. Some people use Odesk, some people have different programs to do it, and some people are waiting on Hitesh to hurry up and finish the Amazon automation, right, Hitesh? But one thing to keep in mind is that price changes on Overstock only happen once a day, okay, primarily. I mean, every once in a while this doesn't hold true, but this is almost always true, and they happen at 1:59 a.m. Eastern Time. So I'm always still up, doesn't bother me, but they happen pretty late at night. Now, the biggest price changes happen on Thursdays. Thursday night, or really Friday morning, at 1:59 a.m. Okay, and this is where things that were on sale for the week go off sale, and new things go on sale, and prices just go crazy. All right, and again, this is at 1:59 a.m. So you guys want to make sure that you track that as well. Other than that, I think you should be good to go. And again, you don't need hundreds of listings. Actually, one more thing, just to keep throwing Sean off. He's probably ready to say, "All right, guys, have a good night." But we'll talk about one more thing. One thing we kind of discovered, Hitesh kind of discovered it. I'll give him a little bit of credit. So he survived monkeys, and he discovered what we call pruning. And pruning is basically this. You don't want, how should we say this? Your bad listings can drag down your good listings. And what I mean by that is your buy box percentage can actually be affected if you have a bunch of what we're going to call bad listings. Alright? Now, what this does is, the idea behind it at least, is that Amazon only gets so much traffic, right? They get a lot of traffic, but they get a finite amount of traffic. And they want to maximize the amount of money they make on that traffic. So, if they send you a bunch of clicks, when you have the buy box, and you're only averaging, say, a sale every 30 clicks, but I'm averaging a sale every 10 clicks, well, it's better to give me the buy box. It's better to, drive people to my listings than to yours, because, more people are going to buy off that number of clicks. So, we don't want our bad listings to drag down our good listings. So, we want to make sure that the items we list have a decent rank, okay? So, what do I mean by decent rank? Well, again, it's kind of category specific. If your item's selling, then that's good. If your item hasn't sold in a long time, you might want to consider getting rid of it, okay? And it doesn't necessarily mean you had to sell it. It just means, is it selling, alright? Now, the other thing we want to do is focus, and Hitesh determined that this rotation cap, as he called it, how often are you going to get the buy box, doesn't matter as much within specific categories. So you want to focus on 2 to 3 categories of items and stay within them. Okay? So if you're going to list, I don't know, if you're going to list bookshelves, right? If you decide tonight, I'm going to list bookshelves and I'm going to list cookware, right? And those are your 2 categories. Stick within those categories. I mean, take a look, guys. There's 142 bookshelves right now on Overstock. And if I click cookware, there's 1,142, sorry. If I click cookware, there's 1,648, and these are just the recommended ones. I mean, if you go within the category, there's, probably, there's 250 cookware sets, and there's 340 skillets, right? There's so many items, and you don't need that many listings. So stick within 2 categories, and you're going to see that helps. The last thing is to review your listings and prune your bad items. So basically take them down weekly and replace them with new items in your category. Okay? So we always want to make sure that we have fresh inventory that is moving, that's selling, and that keeps Amazon happy. Alright, so on that note, guys, I'm going to shut up for a few minutes, and if we want to do a quick Q&A, we've been on here for about an hour, so do about a 10-minute Q&A, and then you guys can go on with your night, alright?
Perfect, awesome. Thanks a lot, Matt, for sharing some of this stuff. I really like the fact that you covered how to deal with some of these situations with the, cancellations, returns, things like that, because we go into it in a little bit in the training, but not as detailed, and people were going crazy for the scripts. So
right, I do actually have some videos, guys, going over basically the same thing. The problem is editing out some of my information takes a decade and a half. And so those are coming. Those will be back there. Obviously, we'll get the skips back there pretty quickly, and you guys should be good to go.
Perfect. So why don't we do, we're already in an hour 10, so why don't we do like 10 minutes of questions, maybe answer like 6 or 7 questions, something like that, and I'm just going to start at the bottom.
Sounds good.
Go from there. So you guys type your questions in. What if you were competing with Amazon for the buy box? Do you compete?
That's actually a good point. That's something I meant to bring up and I forgot. So thanks for the question. Okay, so a couple things. It's hard and actually nearly impossible to take the buy box from Amazon. All right. So if Amazon's on the listing right now, whether you list more expensive than Amazon or cheaper than Amazon, you're still not going to get the buy box. Amazon likes to brag that they own Amazon and they can keep the buy box no matter what, right? That being said, let me just search chair again. That being said, a couple things can happen, all right? Number one is that if you're a little bit more expensive than Amazon, there will be people, so you'll be down here somewhere, right? Again, third or fourth cheapest. There will be people that will buy from you anyway. Why would they do that? Well, remember that Amazon charges sales tax in, I don't even know, I think we're up to 27 states now. Amazon sales tax. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. So we're up to 25 states right now. Over half the states that we ship to, Amazon charges tax in, and I think I picked 27 because I think Michigan and one other state gets added in October. So, boo Michigan. I live in Michigan, so boo Michigan real quick. But Michigan's good other than that. But anyways, guys, there will be buyers who will say, hey, well, if I'm gonna have to pay Amazon 6, 7, 8, 9, 10% sales tax, or I can buy it from this guy for maybe 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10% more than Amazon, I'm gonna buy from this guy and save a little bit. So people will buy it from you basically as a sales tax dodge. All right. The other thing that will happen is you're not gonna sell this item very often, usually, but there will be times on lots of items that Amazon will actually go out of stock on the item when Overstock or Walmart or Wayfair don't. And at that point, Amazon will go away, and then these guys will start rotating the buy box on an item that's ranked, 226 in home and kitchen. So, a month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months might go by where you're not selling this item, and then randomly one day you'll get 60 or 70 sales on the item just because Amazon went out of stock on it. Now, you guys want to be a little bit careful when that happens, all right? When an item starts selling like that, you want to be even more careful with the amount you say you have available than normal, all right? Why? Well, because if Amazon went out of stock, then the other places might eventually too. So you don't want 80 orders sitting that you have to place, and then Overstock goes out of stock, and that's the end of your account, all right? So keep that in mind, but usually if in that situation, you might add, say you have a quantity of 2, let the 2 sell. I mean, they'll sell pretty quick. Place orders, say you have 2 more, and go like that, all right? So that's my answer. Yes, it's fine to list under Amazon. It's just, again, a little bit different of an approach, all right?
Awesome. Somebody else is asking about the bad listings in your inventory. Do you just leave them at 0, or do you remove them completely?
you would want to remove them completely. Now, you can keep a spreadsheet of the ASIN number and the overstock item number, and then there is a there are the templates you guys can use to upload inventory in your Amazon back office, right? So you guys can keep those spreadsheets active and then have all the information if you ever want to go back and list it. But for the pruning process, you'll want to delete the listing entirely, not just zero it out, because when you zero it out, then Amazon gives you a low inventory alert, right? And they email you every 10 minutes and they say, hey, you should restock on this. And, that hurts you as well. So.
Yeah, yeah. Do you have a way to track the returns and all the cash back?
Do I have a way to track the returns and the cash back? Alright, so the way I track returns is just again on a spreadsheet, and I do everything on spreadsheets. And basically, what you want to record is the overstock item number, the overstock item number, the overstock order number is good, the Amazon order number, and the tracking number, right? The tracking number off the label. So when you get a return label, whatever I did there, shows the tracking number right here on it, and you can just, basically what I do is I just Google that tracking number. So if I just Google it, it's 1ZAWO 17390 9572 5172. If you just Google the tracking number, Google knows that's a UPS package. And then I just like to take this link and keep it in my spreadsheet. Then I can just go through and click the links and see which ones are delivered back and be good to go. Remember that Overstock will send you an email once they process your return too. It's called a return confirmation is the subject line. It's like overstock.com, return confirmation. And then you'll know the refund came through and that you have to process it. So as far as cash back, again, it's just another field in my spreadsheet. That's basically your cash back is 5% of your, normally 5% of whatever you spend on Overstock, right? So you just equation it to be based on what you spend, your credit card rewards, whatever those are. And yeah, just make sure you guys are recording all that for tax time, but not too big of a deal.
Awesome. Do you, somebody's asking, are most of your listings piggyback or you use your own UPCs?
Most of the listings are piggybacked. And if you make your own, they'll become piggybacked eventually anyway. but that doesn't mean not to make your own, guys. That's fine, and you will be able to control it for a while on your own. It's just personal preference. You'll see a lot of items that aren't on Amazon at all and look like good items, and you want to list those with your own UPC. A lot of it for me now is I'm always busy placing orders, so I don't really list anything ever anymore, be it against an existing ASIN or a new listing. I mean, I think since last July I've put up like under 10 listings. So the majority of them are piggyback. There's a few that are my own, but it's just personal preference there.
Right, right. Do you, what quantity do you use for stock? Your in stock?
Alright, so if Maris is out there listening, whenever I mention software, I get a message. When do I get the software? But I have it software controlled, which is what you guys are going to have soon too with what Atesh is working on. I like to base it off this. I'm pretty conservative with it. So I say that if Overstock has 0 to 4 units in stock, that I have 0. Alright? Why do I do that? Remember that we can only buy 5 of the extra reward items, right? So I just don't want my thing to pull it down if it only shows 5. So 0 to 4 I have 0. 5 to 9 I say I have 1. 10 to 14 I say I have 2. 15 to 19 I say I have 3. 20 plus I say I have 20. Now why do I do that? Because remember that 20 plus, 20 means 50 and 50 means more than 50. So you can scale up pretty quickly there, but anytime you get to a 19, well then they really only have 19 left and you want to start being more careful. And part of it depends on, how much attention are you paying to it. If you're waiting a bunch of hours or between placing the orders, well, from when they're placed, well, maybe you want to be even more conservative than that. But there's nothing wrong with, it's better to have the item sell out than, sell a ton of them and it go out of stock. All right, guys. And if you're paying attention and you see you're getting sale on an item and it's still in stock, well, just go back and then raise your inventory. No big deal. And yep.
Awesome. Okay, let's see one more question here if I can find it. Somebody's asking, how do you get more reviews?
How do you get more feedback? I'd be happy if I never got another feedback again. Guys, the feedback will come. You know, when you're selling on eBay, roughly something like 1 out of 3 buyers leaves feedback, right? Feedback isn't as important on Amazon. People don't really even know it exists, which is good. So on Amazon, it's more like 1 out of 30 buyers leave feedback. 1 out of 30 buyers feedback. 1 out of 30. There you go. So you're not going to get that much feedback. You don't want to really pester the buyer for it, though. Why? Because Amazon does send out a pretty generic message a little bit after the item's delivered, asking for a feedback. Now, if you start messaging the buyer, there are some automated feedback things out there that'll message the buyer a script that you give it, asking for feedback. But then if the buyer doesn't leave feedback then, note this is the second time they've been messaged, well then it'll message them again a week later and say, hey, leave feedback. And you'll see some people with negative feedback say something to the effect of, this guy wanted a feedback so bad, here it is. I don't want that. Remember that for your ODR is your most important thing on Amazon, right? The ODR is your, let's see, let me pull it over here again. Your ODR is your sum of all these things over your total sales. So whether they leave feedback or not, it counts as a positive in your ODR as long as they don't leave a negative A to Z chargeback rate. So if they don't leave a feedback and they go off into the sunset, that's really a positive for you. That counts as a point here that helps keep your ODR low. So I don't even want to give them, if they're not thinking about feedback, I don't want to give them an option to potentially leave a negative feedback, the one thing that can hurt me, right? I take my point and I'll move on. Okay, so I'll just let the feedback comes as it comes, and it'll build up over time. And there's my answer. So let's do one more question, and then we'll call it a night.
Awesome. Okay, let's see. No, we'll put blank. No.
Sean, don't read them out loud. They're going to be sad that you read it and didn't pick it.
Sorry, I know, it's just there's so many. I like really. You know, some people will be like, how do I log in my Amazon account or something? You know, I don't want to like the very basic question. Here's a good one. It gets asked a lot, but since you've done $1 million in sales, I think it's an appropriate answer from you. What Amazon rank range do you target?
Okay, definitely. Now, again, remember that what we said before is that not all ranks are equal. Okay? So, just as a general breakdown, and you guys don't have to live by this by any means, but if you're looking at something like home and kitchen, which we're going to say is a big category, and it really encompasses everything. Anything, I'd like to stay at like 500,000 or lower. Alright? 500,000 seems like a pretty big number. It's not going to sell all the time, but it will sell. Things that are ranked $1 million will sell. It just depends how much tracking ability you have, and that kind of stuff, and you know how your pruning's going and everything like that. So I tend to stay at 500,000 or lower for home and kitchen. If I'm looking at something like baby or pets, which are a little smaller, even patio, something like patio. I think it's patio and garden or something on Amazon. I don't know. There I'm looking at 150,000 or lower. And I'm actually probably looking for even lower than that in baby. In baby, I'm probably looking for. So let's back this out. In baby, I'm probably looking for something like 75,000 or lower. What other categories are there? I don't know. Let's see. Toys. looking for, you know, probably 100,000 or lower in toys. Same with sports, toys and sports. And let's see, baby pets. Did we forget any? I think that's about it, right? I'd do something like that.
Yeah, guys. I think those are the big ones. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's good to start with. Anyways, what I would mention, like I mentioned before, is like you just never know what's going to sell anyway. So sometimes you can throw some dumb things up there that have like really low sales ranks, and you might get 1 or 2 sales a week. But I remember had a patio set that ranked like, I don't know, 850,000 or something, but the profit was like $600, right?
Right. Yeah.
And I sold it 3 times a month. Well, I mean, it was $1,800 a month. You know what I mean?
Exactly. So that is why, you guys, you don't have to live by this. And if you see something that's ranked, you know, bad but ranked, but it's a huge profit, yeah, go ahead and throw it up. Now, if it's not ranked at all, if it like doesn't even say seller rank on the page, then I wouldn't bother listing it. Now, there are some people that do list that stuff, and they do get occasional sales on it. But to me, it's dragging down the good listings a little too much. All right, so there's so many items out there that you should be able to find. Things in pretty good ranks pretty easily. And again, remember 3rd or 4th on the pricing, and you'll get your sales.
Cool. Well, with that being said, guys, before we go, Matt, why don't you show these guys how they can reach out to you over Facebook and put a name to your face there, face to your name, however you want to say it.
Not a problem. So,
and then you can get like 300 new friend requests.
There's my name. So I'm gonna get 300 new friend requests. I'll warn you guys that my Facebook messages are already pretty long. So if I don't reply to you, I'm sorry. I'll probably never catch up, but I am up pretty late, so if you message me late, I'm more likely to see it when it jumps up to the top than if you message me early in the day when I'm at work. But there's my name. Feel free to friend me, and yep, we'll go from there. Now, obviously, like I said, I'll be adding some videos eventually here to the training. We'll get these scripts in the back office, and I think that's about it.
Awesome. So I just want to say thanks to Matt for coming up tonight and sharing his $1 million secret. It was very informative. We will go ahead and get his templates up in the back office as quickly as Kevin can put them up there. I'll have Matt reach out to Kevin afterwards, and we'll get them up there. And guys, don't forget to, if you are on Genesis or if you're not on Genesis, we do have a special webinar tonight with Nikki at 10 o'clock. So be sure to tune into that in about 34 minutes. And with that being said, everybody, have a good night, and we'll see you once again in 2 weeks.
All right, guys. See you later.
Take care. Bye now.